Welcome, car lovers, to the SoCal Car Scene Podcast, the exclusive place for coverage of car culture in Southern California and the personalities that drive it. I'm your co-host, Big J Marash, and also the technical director and producer of this show. Today, we are beyond stoked to have as our guest the owner of Hollywood Hot Rod, Troy Ladd. But first, this show is associated with SoCal Classic Car Storage and C-Tech battery chargers. So now let's actually get to our program and to our host, Dean Marash. Take it away, Dean.
Hey, thanks, Jay. And I am your host, Dean Marash. And that was my son, Jay. And like Jay said, only son. He's my favorite.
The best son.
Yeah, the best one. Today, we're very, very fortunate to have as our guest Troy Ladd. He's the CEO and founder of Hollywood Hot Rods in Burbank, California. Troy and his team have been building award-winning vehicles since 2002. Troy has been recognized as the Goodguys Rod Custom Association and SEMA 2007 Trendsetter Award Recipient. Grand National Roadster Show 2010 Builder of the Year. LA Roadsters 2012 Builder of the Year. National Rod Custom Hall of Fame inductee, as well as various other awards, including the incredible AMBR Award that he won in 2017 with his team. In addition to that, he's been in 400 different magazine features, stories over the span of his career. Troy and his team at Hollywood Hot Rods have been featured in over 30 television shows in both the U.S. and overseas, like Hot Rod TV, American Icon, and Battle of the Builders, just to name a few. Troy, thanks so much for joining us today on the SoCal Car Scene Podcast.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Your son said you were more than stoked to have me. So I don't know if I've been on a show where they were more than stoked.
Beyond stoked.
I'm trying to teach him these old school words like groovy and stoked.
I haven't heard stoked you since I was in middle school, man.
Right? Yeah, I love it. It's kind of associated with hot rodding and cars. I'm going with it.
Yeah, especially Southern California.
Bra. Yeah. Now it's bra. So Troy, so much to talk about today. And again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Looks like you got some amazing things going on there, of course, as always. But what's the inspiration? Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind Hollywood Hot Rods. And did you ever imagine that you'd have such a tremendous impact on the hot rod and custom car scene?
So no, I did not imagine anything like this. The inspiration, I guess it's pretty simple, that most people can, associate with and understand is it was just a hobby. That's all. It was just a hobby. And it was a hobby that developed out of a necessity, because when I was at 16, I was given a 66 Mustang as a car just to drive. And at the time, I didn't know anything about cars. Don't come from necessarily a car family. Right. My dad, who I never really didn't know very well, he did Volkswagens back in the 60s. So there was a little bit of that influence, right. But he, everyone's got their sob stories, but he left when I was young. And so I was a single mom, that kind of thing. So I grew up fairly poor, but I ended up with this Mustang. And when you're poor and you have a car and it breaks down, what do?
Wrench on it.
You figure out how to do it yourself. So that's kind of the basis of where all this started. And I was brought up, my grandparents were, he was a World War II pilot and things like that. So that era, I was trained that you do things for yourself. You make your own way. You make your own fate. You work hard, go to school, education. So that was always how I was ingrained. And that's why I ended up, again, like just learning how to take care of myself. Then, as it happens with all of us, somewhere along the way, the sickness sets in, or the obsession. I don't know what causes that, but at some point, once you turn into a car person, it's not kind of ingrained in you. So I took the necessity, and I realized that the 66 Mustang was actually a cool car. I didn't even know anything about cars when I got that when I was 16. And then that turned into, was fixing it up and trying to, high school was cool to have an old car. I mean, it was,
right.
then I got into performance end of it and street racing. And so back then there was organized street races in Southern California. You'd go off into the middle of nowhere, fairly safe, not actually on the streets, but at abandoned areas. And that was what you did. And so every weekend you'd race. So all during the week, every dollar, every spare minute of my time was building the car to try to go faster that weekend. So that's how all that first started. And that's where the obsession kind of began. And then over the years, my taste, my second car was a 36 Ford 5-window coupe. So I had the Mustang, did the muscle car thing and did that. And then just by being involved and exposed to the car community, I saw hot rods. I didn't know anything about them. Again, it was all fresh and learning. And like, I like those. Those got cool shapes. Those are neat. So I bought a 36 5-window when I was, I guess 19 years old. Cause I had the Mustang from like 16 to about 19. And I built that. So
nice.
And, again, same mentality. That was a more advanced build. So I had to learn how to actually weld and fabricate things and, things like that.
So that's what I was going to ask you is, so it's the 36 Ford where you kind of learn to bend metal and cut and grind and weld.
Yeah.
Move metal.
Not quite yet. I mean, that was more of brackets and, putting a small block, that was a little bit more of that. And that didn't really get to the customization part yet. So I didn't learn that till later. And then, and then I ended up selling that car, using the money to put myself through college. And then shortly after that, right around college time, my girlfriend had a Volkswagen Bug convertible. And I didn't even have a hot rod at that time. I was just kind of finishing up college, and then her car was a mess. So got back in like, oh, hey, I know something about cars. I've been doing that for a while. So then at that point, built that car for her. And then I got a 34 Chevy 3-window coupe body at Pomona Swap Meet to build.
Nice.
And then I built another Mustang. And then at one point, she and I, the two of us, had like 9 cars in our apartment complex,
So that's when you know that you've got the disease, right? You're the hated one in the neighborhood or in the apartment complex. That's the way I grew up. My dad and our family, we always outstayed our welcome. We had cars on the side of the yard, 5 in the driveway, 3 or 4 in the street, and we, what were your neighbors saying? I bet you guys were not favored nation
in the apartment complex. So we didn't have a garage. I ended up renting a buddy of mine, Chris Shelton, who was a writer for Street Rider for many, many years. Yeah. You probably know him, Jim Shelton. He owns the Baskerville Roadster now, famous 32. So he and I had a shop, but I would work out of my apartment, and so literally. This is sad. I feel bad now when I look back. So I had a carport that shared 2 cars. There's no electrical in there. So I figured out that I put an adapter in the bulb. There was like single bulb that was on a timer for the apartment complex. And I found where the box was for the timer. So I would plug a welder into that and then go and flip the switch on the box. And I actually chopped the top on my 34.
No way.
In there. And I had to, my neighbors were pretty cool. And I kind of told them because their cars were side by side, like I'm gonna be doing some stuff if you wouldn't mind, and they were cool. But the neighbors did complain because when I would use the welder through that circuit, all their televisions would get staticky. So yeah, we had to do whatever you had to do to get it done.
That's a great story, man. I love it. So you're working in other guys' shops. You're trying to keep all your cars alive and kicking, and your girlfriends. And now, so at some point, right, you decide, hey, enough is enough. I love this so much. I'm going to do what? Start my own hot rod shop?
No, because I've never actually worked for anyone.
Oh, really?
No, never. I always had my own hobby shops. So whether it be at that time period, funny, I would do stuff in the carport of my apartment complex. I had the guy I was telling you, Chris Shelton, he and I rented just a small garage from another apartment complex that neither of I even lived in the apartment complex. We just rented a garage. So we would work out of there. Then I also would take classes at Golden West College. They had the body shop class. And so I ended up meeting the teacher. Jim Welty was his name. I still see him at car shows now again in Orange County. So I would sign up for the Monday, Wednesdays, and the Tuesdays, Thursdays, which get me a spot to work on cars. So I had a car there. I could work all week. So I kind of had them spread around, all just hobby. At that time, I was, what was I doing? Oh, so I was working full time because I worked full time to survive since shortly after high school. And I also was going to college. So I was doing car stuff and college and working all at the same time. So that was what was going on there. So, to get to your story, I finally finished college and I kind of progressed in my career path. So originally I was, because I have a degree in business. So I was doing, I was a purchasing agent for a development company in Irvine. And then Fullerton, I was a general contractor. And then from there, I went to a company in Los Alamitos, all Orange County. I grew up and lived in Orange County. I was another development company, so I was a project manager, and I built hospitals. So that was the job that I had before I quit. Great job.
Wow.
Good, if I was still there, I don't know. I'd probably be making more money. I don't know.
You'd definitely be running the joint for what it's
worth. Hopefully I was pretty good at it too. So so I had that, and then I had my hobby shop, and so right before I quit to do this, to quit my day job to do this, I rented a little spot that was close to my office. So I'd literally work in the day in the office, and then go directly from the office to the shop and work until 1, 2 in the morning on cars, and then the weekends on cars. So that was my life. And my girlfriend was going to law school, starting law school in Los Angeles. And she actually said, this car thing that you do, well, actually back up. This was a funny conversation. Early in this, when I finished her car and then I finished a car for myself, she's like, oh, you got those cars done. So does that mean this car thing is done, right? Now that you're done, like, oh no, you don't
out of the system, done.
Yeah, it keeps going. When I explained to her, it will always keep going. She's like, okay. So she got that in her head. So fast forward, she said, so this car thing that you do, why don't you go and do that for a job? I'm like, no, that's my release. That's my hobby. I got a great job. I did what my grandfather trained me to do. I went and got a degree, got a corporate job, and then you do corporate stuff, and then you take care of your family. That's how I was raised. And she said, well, I'm going to go to law school and do the law school thing. And we don't have a family or a house or anything right now. So she's like, you should just try it. So that's kind of what sparked that. And I ended up writing a business plan and doing it. I always tell people I did this backwards. I've told it I'd done quite a few interviews where they ask how I got started, and I did it backwards. Most people, like you said, have the trade skills, work for a shop, work up, start their own thing, start to work small. That's the normal path for trade skill type businesses.
Do your journeyman work, and then
correct.
Become so skilled you're ready to open up and lead others. Right. Yeah.
The problem with a lot of those guys is that skill that got you there is not the same skill that runs a business.
Right. Exactly.
So I did this backwards. So I have all those skills as a hobby. And then at that point, I did chops, customization, so I could build whole cars. I had already built multiple whole cars at that time as a hobby. And then I decided, if I'm going to do this for a business, let's do it right. So I wrote a business plan. I came up with the name Hollywood Hot Rods. I had a trademark. I had logos. I had almost, you could say, a virtual company before there was a company. It's a corporation. I started a corporation. I had a company on paper before. I'm like, okay, and I got all that done. And I ended up trying to get a small loan from the SBA, and that was very difficult. And so I sold everything I had. I had some retirement money. I cashed that out. I did get a small loan from Small Business Administration. Yeah. And then I'm like, now I really have to do it.
Yeah, you're all in at that point. I can relate. I remember when I push my chips in on this car storage business. When you get a building, or when you make significant capital investments, that's when
It's scary.
there's no going back.
It's scary. I know. And
Right.
Luckily my job, my corporate job, and my boss, he was really understanding, and he actually let me transition for, it was like, I think 2 months, where I was still getting a full paycheck and working half there on my projects that, for the corporation, like my hospital projects, and then trying to get my business going half. So that helped a little bit. But once that was done, like I always tell people, they said, what was the secret to your success? Like, I sold my soul. Like, no friends, no family, no going out, no life. I literally slept in that shop, ate 99-cent cheeseburgers to survive. I mean, and it's because who else is going to help you survive? Nobody. It's all you.
That's been a source of debate here at SoCal Storage these days. Dad's like, I work 16-hour days sometimes, Jay. Don't own your own business, man. I'm like, Dad, you work too much.
Well, I think, one thing that I say, and I don't know how you feel about it, Troy, but most of my day does not feel like work. Once in a while I'm doing administrative things or invoicing or things of this nature that are pretty mundane. But for the most part, when you're in the car business, I used to be in tech and aerospace, so I had other lives before this one. But really, most days, I got to say, it doesn't really feel like work. So I can work a long hour or a long day without it even feeling like work.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at that two ways, because we talk about how this is a time warp. That a whole day goes by in a heartbeat. I mean, 12-hour days, 14-hour days, you don't feel it.
Right.
There's two reasons for that. I think, in my experience, a lot of it's not because it's fun that the day passes by. It's because you're so focused on survival. Like the first half of my career was like so focused on survival. Like, I need more hours. I need more hours, just a couple of more hours to get what I need, because there's never enough time to get it done. I
love to watch Shark Tank, and one of the things that you're telling everybody today is that what you hear on Shark Tank, as soon as they ask the question, do you have another job? And if you answer that wrong, all the sharks are out, because they want you all in.
Yeah.
They want you all in, because you can't substitute that drive, that, just that almost anxiety that fuels.
It's anxiety. It's a nightmare. Well, that's what I always tell people, like, oh, you're living your dream. Like, nightmares are dreams too. I mean, and I look back at it, and people say, oh, like, that was like such a great thing that you did. And I look back, like, no, when I look back on paper, so stupid, such a bad idea. Like, the odds of it working out. Yeah. Like, when I look back.
Building the plane as you fly it, and you're wondering how the hell the plane flew.
That's right. That's right. And I've just been, fortunate, and also, like, there's no, again, like we just talked about, there's no substitution for just putting in the time.
Yeah.
But
agreed. So that was a great story. I think it was, really helpful insight for those that are pursuing similar passions, and probably
the bottom line is don't do it. Get a real job where you get a paycheck.
Feeling very
paycheck,
alone.
benefits,
yes,
health insurance.
Troy, I get this question all the time. Don't you miss vacations? And I'm like, yeah, I forgot what vacations. Yeah, I remember those.
When's the last time you took a vacation? Like, before you started this business?
I haven't, for 5 years. I haven't taken anything more than 3 days. I don't think 3 or 4 days. That's about it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's probably
he's just a workaholic there. He's got what you known as workaholism.
So, hey, Troy, the one thing that we touched on a little bit, before we started the podcast the other day was touching on your build philosophy. And I want to get into that just a little bit, because everybody's unique, and your style is very unique. But it sounds like, if I understood it correctly, that it's inspired by the past, hot rodding's past, but you respect the tradition. But at the same time, if I recall correctly, you look forward into the future and allow other influences, maybe European or Italian, to influence the design and the build. Is that fair? But why don't you expand on that?
That's a pretty reasonable assessment. I mean, we talk about like we respect tradition, but we're not bound by it, and the difference is, and it's weird because in the car world, in our world, like the subtleties of a lot of those things, not everyone grasps, I guess. Because I've had people say, "Oh, you're one of those traditional car builders. You build them just like they did in the '50s." Like, no, nope, not really. We use a lot of those design aesthetics, like you just talked about, like design aesthetic. But as an artist, I can't. Just copying what was done in the '50s over and over is not very artistic.
Right.
But I love that style, I love that design, and I, even early on in my career, before I even did it as a job, I did build, it wasn't like traditional car clubs, and that more of the counterculture version of hot rodding, and then like I don't use dates that'll date me, but a ways back.
Yeah, we've got a couple of epic '50s frame off restorations here. Some of our customers have at SoCal Classic, and one of them comes to mind is a '57 Bonneville convertible, and it's fuel injected, and it's just what a gorgeous car that is. We've got a '56 Packard Caribbean convertible. Again, just amazing the amount of design. I think they threw everything at that car. That was the last Packard. So it seemed like somewhere in the mid '50s, all the way to the end of that era, the late '50s, the designers ran the show, right? There was no holding them back.
But you also gotta add in that a lot of American hot rodders are pretty egocentric, where they don't look out of, and don't get me wrong, American hot rodding is where it all came from. This is where it all started. But now, if you can look out and look at like I look at a lot of Bugatti stuff and a lot of European sports car design and European race cars. There's some cool stuff that you can use as as influence and just ideas that you can meld into what we do. And then we do a lot of stuff based on a lot of kind of industrial type of builds where like race cars and things of the 50s and 60s would have like Bonneville cars and land speed cars, like rivets and mechanical things and just cool stuff. Like, I think that's what I gravitate toward. We very much sway away from 80s, 90s, 2000s street rod stuff, like monochromatic engine covers and no chrome. And, that just doesn't really strike any interest in me.
One of the things I notice about your designs is that you really, you bring your art all the way into the engine compartment and in and around the exhaust. I look at some of your exhaust systems, and there must be a tremendous amount of thought and design that goes into just your headers and your, just how you route the exhaust. Well,
that kind of goes into that same line of thinking. Every part of the car is part of the design. You can't just build it one way on the outside and then close the hood and not underneath, and that's goes back to the idea of like engine covers and things where you're covering up stuff. We don't cover up any of that stuff. Mechanical stuff is beautiful if you make it beautiful. So we want things that are specific to an automobile to be shown and look beautiful, like exhaust. Everyone knows there's going to be some headers, like make them pretty. And the exhaust that goes out, if you can, from underneath the car, make the design match the frame. And engines are beautiful. That's why we do a lot of oddball engine, not oddball, but cool vintage engines. Like I like early Hemis, like 392s. I've had a few 392s in my own cars. This coupe that we're doing has a 331 Cadillac from 1954, and you can make those engines so beautiful, but also form and function with modern technology and modern machining process and things that we have available to us today. You can make those things perform and look good. You can, we can have it all if you plan it and think about it and really work through it. So That's kind of how my brain works.
Thanks for that, Troy. That's great. Jay, Troy's obviously got us pretty charged up. Why don't you share with everybody the people that keep all of our batteries charged up around here at SoCal Classic?
Oh yeah,
I see how you did that.
In addition to stoked, he's also charged us up, and we also stay charged up here at SoCal Classic Car Storage and on the SoCal Car Scene podcast, thanks to our friends at SeaTech. If you're looking for a smarter way to charge your car's battery, our friends at SeaTech lead the way in the care and maintenance of vehicle batteries. SeaTech's unparalleled knowledge and continuous investment in innovation means they offer high-quality, reliable chargers that are effective, easy to use, and most importantly, safe for the user and their car's electric system. The quality of SeaTech's products make them the trusted company of the world's most recognizable car brands, just like you see in the garage behind Dean, such as BMW, Bentley, Corvette, Ford, Ferrari, Maserati, Mercedes, Porsche, and numerous others. Get yours today at smartercharger.com.
Thanks, Jay. Hey, so, the one thing I was curious about, Troy, maybe other folks are like, so, I always think back to the junior versus senior show. That was so great. Not just the fighting and throwing chairs and breaking doors aspect of that show when they were making motorcycles, but I saw two different styles. Here's a style where Junior was totally, freestyling, almost in air. He would build a bike without a design and just kind of go. And I think Junior still did that even after they split up. And then the other side, it seemed like Senior had a really good designer with all the CAD and the 3D and the 3D printing and all that stuff. So tell us about your shop and how you guys implement technology. Is it a lot? Does it depend on the project?
It's more of a hybrid, I guess. I don't know. I don't know a percentage, but quite a few of our cars are, we have the idea, between myself and the customer, we'll kind of have a concept in the car, and then we'll brainstorm that, and a lot of times we'll have it drawn, rendered and designed. And we use Eric Black of E-Black Design. He's in Portland. So a lot of our cars, once you can visualize it, you can put it on paper and draw it, then they can evolve. We'll draw something, look at it, and change that, move that, and then plus it's a really neat way to present the final product to the customer. So a lot of our more complex or unique cars are usually done in that manner. Right. But in 32s, I don't know. We're doing a 60. What's down there right now? So yeah, 65 Mustang convertible, don't need a drawing. We got a couple of 32s, don't need drawings.
Gotcha. So it depends.
They're still not like necessarily there's still a little bit of on the fly and planned. Like there's still, every car still has a direction and an idea and a design, and we stick to it. You got to stick to the bigger picture. That's a good way to describe it. You have to stick to the bigger picture, but the details evolve. And we always talk about the cars. You got to let the car be the car. The car is going to want what it wants. So even with our design drawings,
you listen to the cars it's being built.
Yeah, and like when we do the stuff with Eric Black design drawings, we'll have those as a basis. But then when you're actually building it in real life, the eye is going to want to change. Maybe like in real life, it's going to look a little different in 3 dimensions. So we'll adjust. And then we always do a lot of the really unique engine designs and detail stuff and chassis stuff. That kind of happens on the fly. Because we do see some really unique over the top designs that just haven't been done before, like the Packard with it had a quarter elliptical suspension on pivots, and then there was a screw jack that moved the suspension, like really unique stuff that we just kind of made up. So a lot of those situations, we have the idea where we want to get.
You're right.
Don't know the steps to get there until you get there. And that's a hard thing even sometimes to explain to a customer, because they'll ask me like, exactly what are you going to do to get to there? I'm like, I don't know, but I won't know. I can't get to step 10 until we've already done step 1 through 9, and each step poses a new challenge that ties into the next step. So it's really we have to tell people that look at what we've done.
Right.
I mean, you never want to use the words like, it sounds, you like, trust me. You're like, that's usually a red flag when someone says trust me,
Right.
but that is part of what I explain to people in the process. Like we've done a lot of cars. We know what we're doing.
This is our process. It works.
Yeah, it's a process. And the fact that your car is going to be like no other car means there's going to be some evolving and some steps on the way. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. That's
it does. It's great. It's so insightful.
But the car, I mean, I'm almost contradicting myself. In one way, there has to be a plan and a design that you stick to, beginning to end. But in the other, the next sentence I'm going to say is that plan has to be able to evolve too.
So you got to stick to the concept and the plan, but the details, you have to be flexible and how you make it work as a system, right?
And everyone here has input in the process as well.
Oh, great.
So when you with a collaborative effort, you can really solve problems, and in design ideas, you really can come up with a lot of cooler stuff than somebody that's trying to do it all on their own. You know, I mean,
it's great that it's such a collaborative effort, and you got guys you trust. How many hours are we talking about to fab a typical, I don't know, 32 hot rod 3 or 5 window coupe? Or
there's no typical, because
everybody's different. Yeah,
I mean, it depends. Like the coupe that we're doing downstairs now, that's a handmade body because it's not like any other coupe. So something like that's not typical, because you usually, a 32, you can work with, you buy a body,
right,
chop it, modify a couple of things. So something like that, I mean, you could build a straightforward 32 ropes or something for 150, 160. I don't know. So that's just something that's straightforward. But if we're going to build a unique show-winning concept that never existed, I mean, thousands of hours.
Amazing.
I mean, the range is, I mean, people don't, that's why I don't even like to use real numbers, because people, depending on what your familiarity is with car building and different levels, the numbers would shock people. People think I'm lying. And then when I talk to other builders, like, wow, you're doing it faster than we're doing it. Like, it's all relative.
Yeah. We've got a customer's car in here. It's a 69 or 70 Mustang. And there's not one panel that hasn't been modified on that car. And he told me it took, pretty much two men, better part of 2 years, almost 2 years.
Our cars take 5 and 6 years. So he's doing. I have a Mustang. I can do a Mustang fast.
Oh my gosh!
It depends.
So 5 years. It's hard to fathom.
We have two. Yeah, the Packard and the coupe that we're doing now. Those are both 5 and 6 years.
Wow, amazing.
So
who are these people that are working for you, Troy? We don't need to know their names. We don't need to know their past, right? But
you want me to give you their phone numbers, addresses?
Right?
Yeah. What's their addresses?
Yeah, they're probably going to charge us for the consult, right? So better.
You can find everyone on Instagram.
Are these guys artists first and fabricators second, or are they a little bit of both? I mean, what? It seems like they're more artists than they are, car builders. But what's your take on that? What's your philosophy?
That's a good, wow. How does that work?
It seems like a lost art too. Like so few people are actually capable of moving metal anymore. You don't see it that much.
There has to be a passion. This is, passion driven business. It's a unique working environment too, because it's not like you come in and punch out on the dot and for a paycheck. Because if you want a job like that, you can, there's better jobs. This is based on the passion for the art. So everybody here does it for that. I mean, my last two hires were kids that one guy was from Oregon and one guy was from Washington, and they had the passion for this hot rod dream. And it turns out that I gave them a chance, and they ended up accelerating so quickly. I mean, one was like 25, the other one was 20 years old, and
Wow.
and they moved within a couple of years into amazingly skilled metal shapers and metal workers. And I don't know what it is. It's you got to have the drive and you got to have the passion. I think that overcomes you. Well, you also have to have skills too, because wrenching, like just building cars. I mean, I don't want to minimize it for
That's
people
different.
out there, but like anyone can turn a wrench. I mean, you can go on Google and figure out how to build a small block Chevy. It's
Right.
not brain surgery. So everyone here knows how to do that. That's like basic stuff. Like those are given skills. Like, you know how to take engines, because we do everything here.
Blocking
it's not
and
just
tackling, right? If you
yeah, but then you move up to the like welding. And I always tell like a lot of guys, if you come in here with a firm grasp of TIG welding, sheet metal, and aluminum and stainless, if you got that down, we could probably teach you the rest. You know,
Awesome.
like that skills like that combined with the passion is what happens. And then you turn into artists. Because you can't have the vision and want to shape metal if you can't weld it, you know? And some people have a better understanding of how metal moves than others. It's weird. I don't think people understand how unique the skill sets are in this.
Well, when I see the results, when I look at your cars or these award-winning cars like yours, and you get close, you know, Jason and I went to the Roadster Show in, what was it, 2019 or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jay, I mean,
Yep.
they had that three penny copper Roadster, and you get close to that car and you're just like, oh my God, look at the details. Look at the stuff. Now, I've been close to your cars with the same reaction. I'm just pointing that one out. But the end result is stunning. I can't think of another word.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty proud of them when we're done. I mean, I think that my whole career has been an evolution as well, because part of that passion is, and again, everyone's going to have a different version of this, but part of the passion for me and for here is it's not really about like the money. It's about doing the next thing and the next thing. And that's why we ended up kind of the highlight so far until this coupe is released downstairs, like the Packard, the Mulholland Speedster. That is a car that did things that no other car in history has ever done. And people, again, car people, especially car people, don't even understand what all that car is. So you look at it like, oh wow, they made a custom Packard. No, we hand built that car from scratch. That's why we showed it in the Grand National Roadster Show in 2015 in polished steel. I've never seen anyone display a car in polished steel before. I mean, we've seen bare metal cars all the time.
Right.
Seen polished aluminum, but we decided like, okay, we built an entire full fendered 36 Art Deco car from metal. So we thought it would be fun to polish it just to show the world that what that is. Of course, the painter afterward had to scuff it up to make paint stick to it. But so something like that, it's just like, it's an evolution of trying to do the next thing or better yourself. Like, again, back to art. An artist wants to try to create his next thing. And like, you want to challenge yourself.
Right.
Like that's kind of how this evolution here works. And and the guys that work here feel the same way. So everyone's trying to better themselves. And
that car won the coveted AMBR award, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
It won every award that could be won in the hot rod world, and awards that have never been won in history, that car.
Wow.
So yeah, it won AMBR, but then it went on to the next. We won the Legends Cup in Detroit, which was also unprecedented because the only thing it didn't win is Riddler because we're not allowed.
Right.
So we had to choose. Yeah. So we chose AMBR, but then Riddler. The Chicago show is the weekend after Riddler, so all of the Riddler cars, the Grade 8, go and to compete at Chicago. And historically, the current Riddler usually wins because it just won the weekend before in Detroit, so then it goes to Chicago. So we shipped our car out from California to Chicago to compete. So the first time in history, the current America's Most Beautiful Roadster car competed against the current
No kidding.
Riddler winner. The Riddler had just won Riddler the weekend before, and we beat him, and he was pretty pissed.
I love
So
that.
that had never happened before. Oh, the other thing which is kind of fun is we did America's Most Beautiful Roadster, which is obviously a roadster between the years of, I think it ends at like 1937 or 1938, somewhere in there. I can't remember what the exact rules are. There's also a World's Most Beautiful Custom Award, which is in Sacramento. That is open to cars from 35 and up custom. So our cars are 36. We happen to cross over on a 2-year crossover. So we were able to win America's Most Beautiful Roadster and World's Most Beautiful Custom, which had never been done before.
Wow, what an honor! What an honor for you and the artisans that are working for you. It must have like, hey man, pinching ourselves. We've done it.
It was. I mean,
car
for
heaven.
the owner, I mean, 6 years, and I'm not going to tell you, dollar values, but there's a substantial investment of time and design and money in a build like that. So when it all comes together and then everyone responds to it, it's kind of icing on the cake. It really validates it makes you feel pretty good when people like you.
Amazing.
And then the awards as well. And then, then to do historic things. And then, poor Riddler car, we beat him at multiple shows until he stopped. We heard rumors that he was going to go to Hot August Nights. Yeah. And then when we were going, he didn't show up. And then we won Hot August Nights. And he ended up going to take his Riddler car a year later to Hot August Nights, even though his car was like 2 years old.
He waited.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, those are neat things. It just makes you feel,
I bet. Hey, so you got to have some awesome stuff. I know you're working on a SEMA build or Battle of the Builders, depending on, what category you're going in.
Just to be clear, like SEMA stuff, we don't really do. SEMA's got SEMA have an interesting idea of what SEMA is. Like, we've never actually built cars for SEMA. We take cars to SEMA, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's not your launch point for that car.
Yeah, because SEMA's, people say, "Oh, that's a great car show." That's not a car show. It's a trade show. Like
that's true.
A manufacturer's show. So we always, we go every year. We always have cars there. I take that back. I did debut a car for Ford at SEMA, because we did a car for Ford, which was unique. And then a personal car, like actually my girlfriend's Comet, we debuted it at SEMA, because those are sponsor cars. So sponsor cars you debut. So, and we've done Battle of the Builders, like we've done it multiple times after we built a car for like AMBR or something like that, then we would do that. So I think the coupe that we have now, we're going to, because of the world went crazy and all, we're going to, there's no car shows right now. So we're going to go ahead and debut our coupe at the Roadster Show for the Al Slonaker Award, which is the new, that's kind of like the West Coast Riddler.
Okay.
Yeah, the last year was there's always been an Al Slonaker Award, but last year is the first year they promoted it to a perpetual trophy, big cash prize. So now there is a West Coast Riddler level. I mean, AMBR is, but that's for roadsters. So Slonaker is for non-roadstered cars. So we're going to debut that in January, and then we will do Battle of Builders with the same car for SEMA. So next year won't be this one, because we need to
when you're building these cars, and you're building a very competitive car at one of these incredible shows where there's so many, the stakes are high. Are you trying to keep a lot of the build secret? Like, you probably got, a lot of cars in the shop right now for, that you're work in progress on. Do you try to not reveal too much so that other people feel your ideas, or what?
No, that's pretty common, but not us. I take a different approach to it. I believe that's why we ended up debuting the Mulholland for America's Most Beautiful Roadster instead of Riddler, because Riddler, they're very strict and it has to be under wraps, and that's got to be the first time seen. America's Most Beautiful Roadster and Al Slonaker, it has to be first competed, and you can't really show the whole car, but you can show build stuff, and you can be in magazines as partial builds. You can show the renderings. So that was one of the choices that why we went to America's Most Beautiful Roadster. Well, plus the Roadster Show. I mean, home court advantage. I've been going there for years. I know John Buck, the owner, so like it was great. And I've done that show. I've competed for AMBR 5 other times as well. So
Wow.
I believe, so to answer your question, I'm sorry, it's a long answer to your question. I believe from a business point of view and a marketing standpoint, and for the customer, like when we went to Mulholland to AMBR, like I had mentioned, we went a year before and showed it in bare metal. And then we posted on Instagram, on Facebook, and you build a following, you build a name, you start to build a fan base for the car in advance. That's great for the business and the customer. And like I even called that return on investment, because you never make your money back on a custom built car. You're doing it for you. You're doing it to have a bespoke built car.
Right.
So I always tell customers, part of your return on investment is the fact that you get to enjoy it. You get to show it off. When people appreciate it and look at the work and enjoy what we've done, and you get the notoriety of owning it, that's your part of your return. So the idea is that we want to expose as much as possible before the show without breaking the rules, to build a following and really start to gather some traction, and it works. Because
sounds like you've embraced the social media platforms and the
begrudgingly, but
you know, to kind of capture people's excitement and enthusiasm for your builds and your tech, you know, your techniques and your skills.
Yeah, it's worked. The funny thing is I don't do it very well. I do Instagram, and then I connect it to Facebook and all the other ones just so I can post once and it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I've never been very good at it, but I've always ended up being better than I think. Because I was ahead of everyone on most of this stuff many years ago. Yeah. I messed up on Facebook because it cut me off at 5,000 followers, because I made Hollywood Hot Rods like a personal account, so I had to start another one. But I mean, I had 5,000 followers, 12 years ago or something when they cut me off. So
that's quite a compliment.
Yeah, but like Instagram, for example, I don't do it very well. I try to post once a week, but I'm at 51,000 or something followers. I mean, through all my platforms, I think I'm a couple of 100,000 followers, and that's without trying. I just throw a picture out every once in a while,
Well, so, I wish. We've got some work to do, Jay, to get caught up, and maybe it could all start if we get the Mulholland Roadster stored at SoCal Classic Car Storage.
They lives in Washington.
Oh
yeah.
We'll give them a call.
Well, did you know that actually this show is actually also brought to you by SoCal Classic Car Storage? And just telling about other people about it, we actually provide South OC car lovers the opportunity to secure their vehicles in an environment made just for them. SoCal's facilities in the lovely city of Laguna Hills feature advanced security systems, white glove service, and a dedicated members lounge. In addition to storage, our expert sales staff offers consignment services for those looking to sell their cars. For more information, visit us in Laguna Hills or at SoCalCarStorage.com, or on Facebook at facebook.com/SoCal Car Storage, or on Instagram at SoCal Classic.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we're getting the Roadster anytime soon down here, Jay.
Actually,
it's okay.
It comes back and forth fairly often.
Hey,
we're due to have it back here pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, we want to see it. And one of the things that blows my mind about that car, and I'm sure everybody tells you this, is because it's so obvious and we can see it, and us untrained eyes can say, ooh, but that retractable top.
Yeah.
That takes us back to the late 50s with Ford and what they were doing with their 57, 58, retractables. So, I mean, I think that's so innovative. I think you started a whole thing there. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about stuff like that that's so unique that people like start emulating and copying that on their builds too.
Again, we talk about collaboration and innovation and just evolution, and that's kind of how stuff like that comes to be. In the design process of that car as it evolved, the customer really wanted a roof. And, you know, and in the beginning stages, I don't know if we thought through if it was just a removable hard top, or I don't know how that, I don't remember how all that evolution came to be. But at some point we talked about the retractable, like making it retractable, like, oh man. So we had to engineer that. And part of the rules for that is that we didn't want it to be like a modern Mercedes hardtop retractable where there's a seam that would bend. We needed the roof to stay, you know, in one piece. And we wanted it to look like it belonged. So it needed to look complete up or down. So that was what we had to work through. And so we originally did a mock-up, kind of like an early Ford, like a Fairlane or something that had kind of parallel arms where the roof kind of went into the trunk like you would imagine it to go. And the owner, who's an engineer, said no. He had a Ferrari. Is it a Ferrari?
Yeah.
California? Well, there's I think 70s, maybe 80s era Ferrari where the roof pivots. So,
goes at an
so
angle.
it actually pivots into the trunk, and then when it pivots, the package tray underneath finishes itself off as it. So, in either position, it looks finished. And so, he said that he wanted us to work that out. So that's when we started to work. And that hard part about that is the roof is shaped like this, which makes sense for a car that's shaped like that.
Right.
But when the roof flips over, now it's the wrong shape. So it was hard to fit in the trunk. But he's really great like that, the customer, because he would have these ideas and allow us to work through it, because that takes time and money to figure that stuff out. And in the end, he was right, because that system with just a single pivot point is it's a much simpler system as far as there being a problem. I think it's more foolproof, it's more reliable. And we were able to build the whole package tray assembly that is underneath, so that when it flips over, the entire back of the car behind the seat is upholstered in leather and finishes, so it's complete. So either way, you wouldn't know if there was a roof on or off, because there's no little door, there's nothing that really gives it away. So we're pretty proud of that. And then there was a lot of you guys would laugh at some of the engineering experiments to make that stuff work, because we're just garage builders, just like, you know, we're all hobby garage builders. So to figure out, I mean, Mercedes and BMW, they've got millions and millions of dollars in marketing and R&D engineers to figure that. It's just a couple of dudes here that build cars, and, you know, so we had pretty fun experiments. It's logical. I'm pretty smart. I come from an engineering family, but we had like for example, we would do to figure out how to make the deck lid open. Like, okay, let's do simple math. Put a 1-foot arm on the deck lid, and then I put a scissor jack on a floor scale, and then crank up the scissor jack until the roof opens at its most extreme point, like the heaviest point, and then whatever the scale, I think it was like 150, or I don't remember what it was on the bathroom scale, that would be 150 foot-pounds. Therefore, we need actuators that can lift 150 foot-pounds plus, divided by 2 if we have push it on both sides. So that kind of thing. It was pretty fun, like our
what a blast.
Some of our mock-ups to figure out.
Yeah, mock-ups and prototyping, all Hollywood Hot Rod style. Man, that's so fun. Hey, there's a car that I saw in your shop, thanks to AJ from Overhauling. She did a little video with you, a kind of a shorter one, but it was fascinating. I think you call it the Grand 36. What an incredible build. I think your plan is to put like a Lincoln V12 in that vehicle.
Yeah.
But talk to us about that, because that doesn't look like there's too much metal coming from the car. It looks like a lot, almost all hand fab.
That's another coach built. It'll be 80%, 90% coach built. So the idea, that was a brainstorm from Eric Black, the designer we worked with for many years. So that one was one of his like fever dream type ideas. So I asked him, I was like, we want to do a 36 or that kind of era. The customer wasn't real specific. He saw the Packard, the Mulholland, and he wanted something similar, and he just kind of let me run with it. I'm like, okay, let's do 36. I showed him 36. He, yep, I like those shapes, but I want something unique. So I talked to Eric. It's like, has there been some weird idea in your head that you haven't told anybody that you might want to try to do with the 36? Because that's one of his favorite body styles. Mine too, because my second car was a 36.
I remember that.
And he got back to me. He's like, there is. It's pretty unique. See if he's into it. And so basically the concept is 36 Ford. We're doing 36 Ford Roadster, but it's scaled up. So it's longer wheelbase, wider, bigger. Everything about it's going to be a higher level of car. So if Ford was to do a car at that time on the level of like a Duesenberg, or like a high-end car out of a 36 Ford, this would be it. So we call it the Grand 36 or Deluxe 36. So we're using a 12-cylinder Lincoln K engine. So we've done a couple of cars with Lincoln V12s before, like the Flathead V12.
Right.
Well, the Mulholland has that, and also we did. If you look up the Long Beach Legend, that's a 36, kind of a 36 hybrid with Zephyr. So it's a Ford Zephyr kind of hybrid. That has one. So this is a K. I've never worked with one. Don't know much even about it, but that's how I work. Is like, it's weird and unique, and I haven't worked with it. I want to work with it.
Right.
So that's how that came to be.
How long is this car away from entering into a show or a competition? I mean, are we years out?
Years. Okay. Probably years. Yeah. I mean, it's the long lead is the body.
Right.
And like when you hand shape, and 36 has got some of the most complex shapes of any car. I mean the front fenders, were the transition from the front fenders to the grille, to the running boards, to where the engine side panels are. There's so many reverse and complex curves. So, when we get the body shaped, we can move pretty fast, but that's where we're at now.
Well, anyway, I look forward to seeing that one come to life. What an incredible build.
And that's another oddball one, because we don't really know where it fits. And we confuse hot rod guys a lot, and it's okay. And I don't mind, unless they're mean to me. I don't like that. But like a car like that, even the Packard, there was some controversy around the Packard because nobody knows what it is. Is it a hot rod? Is it a custom? Is it a restoration? It's certainly not a restoration. And like we kind of just built something cool for the sake of design and didn't really categorize it. But people seem to need to do that, and it confuses people.
It's kind of like music, right? Don't you feel like musicians always have to get bucketed, and then when they go out and shift genres, there's always that pushback, like, hey, you're a country star. What are you doing over here in pop?
And I didn't even with the Mullen. I thought I was built in a hot rod with skirts. That's in my mind. It was a hot rod with skirts, which makes the custom guys are like, hooray! Custom car wins AMBR. Like, oh, I didn't know we were championing the custom car guys, but I mean, it's a 12-cylinder with a blower on it. That's hot rod to me. But anyway,
that's awesome.
So that 36, who knows where that's going to fall, because it's even less. It's a hand-built car, but it doesn't look custom. It's not going to look hot rod at all. It's going to look like a factory car, which is what we want. But it's fun. It's fun to hear people.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind, and it's not even close to being done.
Yeah.
So switch topics a little bit. We're running over on time, so we probably should speed it up a little bit. But you've done a number of TV shows, and that's a totally different thing than fabricating these incredible cars. Is it easier or harder than building hot rods?
Easier or harder? Well, most of the television that we've done has been highlighting what we actually do. So, it's a pain. It's kind of a pain to do. We'll say it again.
Reality television kind of thing?
No. Most of everything we've done that I have done is not reality. It's documentary.
Oh, it's documentary. Okay.
Yeah. So Rides was documentary. Hot Rod TV was documentary. Even like the competition Ready. That was, but it highlighted our cars and what we do. And they were cars that we built our way for a customer, not for television. So to have someone document your art is fantastic. Love it. The thing that I did that wasn't that was the Ride That Got Away show with Courtney Hansen. So that was like an overhauling type of show where we built cars. Anyway, so how I handled that is that's why it was Royal Garage, not Hollywood Hot Rods, because I wanted a distinction between Hollywood Hot Rods does what we do, but you know, TV cars, I mean, let's face it, they're never going to be as good as like a properly built car. It's just they're built fast and they're built.
You told me 2 to 6 years roughly, right? And you know, these TV cars are built in a week or two or whatever. I mean, the pressure, I'm sure, is insatiable. So the one that got away with Courtney Hansen, that's a really cool show, though. That was 2019. Do you think they'll be picking some more up once Hollywood gets going again, or is that?
Yeah, there's going to be a season 2. I think there's a season 2, but not with me. I'm good without it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're moving on.
Yeah, I'm moving on. I mean, it was fun, and we did some great stuff for some great people, but it really is just a whole different thing. And I don't think people realize how different TV car builders are from real car builders. Like they very rarely overlap, except for like Dave Kindig. That's like they're real car builders that
they really
also
are.
do television.
Yeah, I've seen his stuff at SEMA. It's incredible. Like that Pontiac, that 52 Pontiac convertible or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I got close to that car. I'm like, wow.
He's a good guy. I met him, you know, before he had the show, and like they're real car builders. But then, you know, but this stuff like, you know, Gas Monkey, stuff like that, like that's just different, you know, different. And the rest of the world doesn't really see the differentiation between the different ones. Yeah. But I mean, you know, I always say like, I don't like know about all the different shows, but you could probably name off 5 of them, and I can guarantee you I never competed with them at a car show. I've never had a car next to theirs at a car show. It's just different. It's different. TV stuff is different. So, and that's why I liked doing the Ride That Got Away, because we weren't pretending to build show cars in 7 days. We were building cars to give to somebody. Awesome. And we built, and those were legitimate builds. I mean, they like most of them were frame off full builds that were done they really were done in like a few weeks time with the crew on the show. Like there was 4 guys. We had a couple of helpers, but that was real, and it was hard. It was hard. Yeah. So
there's a lot of sleepless nights.
I like, it's fun. I think TV stuff is fun. I mean, the simple question is, the simple answer to your question is, I like it. It's fun. And I'll probably be doing some more. We were, I had a show that we were selling before the world fell apart, you know, but it's pretty exciting. But I believe that I am able to keep it separate pretty well, because what we do here is, if you want to come and film what we actually do here, that's great. But again, like the timeline isn't good for TV. TV has to put it in a box. So they have to do fast builds in order to make a beginning and end of the story. So for most of our show car stuff, it doesn't work. But like when AJ was here, and we've done quite a few like that, where they'll catch us on the end of a build, we can do a show, and then they can show the other stuff we're doing. It's great to show off the real art. Right. But yeah, I don't think Hollywood Hot Rods will be doing like a 7-day build type of thing anytime soon. Well, even when I did that with, you know, for the Ride That Got Away, my crew stayed here. They weren't part of the show. Yeah,
they're like, no, thanks. We got
plus like I need stuff to keep moving here. So yeah, my crew stayed here, and then there was a whole fresh crew. Right. That's that we came up with to do that. So, but yeah, TV stuff's fun.
Well, fantastic. I wanted to inquire. I didn't want to not bring that up, because, you know, that's how most people gain access to people like you and others that are making a huge contribution in the automotive space. Customization, hot rod, whatever label you put on it. You know, once in a while, people get to approach somebody like yourself at a car show, get an autograph, have a brief chat. But I think those shows are important because it feeds the, you know, the hobby, which has an insatiable appetite, quite frankly, for just more. I mean, the number of shows out there on Motor Trend, Discovery. I mean, it's incredible. I don't even know half of them.
Yeah, neither do I, actually. But anything that garners interest,
Right.
anything that keeps people fueled, and of course there's still, there's the argument, like, how do you get the next generations in?
Yeah.
Like, how do you keep it going? And television helps, in social media. I mean, I saw in such a huge kind of resurgence in like metal shaping and fabrication. I believe a large part of that, especially with younger guys, was social media.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone loves to show their welding, love to show their metal shaping on Instagram and Facebook and all that. So I really saw how that helped really spark interest in people.
Yeah.
So
It
you got to
romanticizes.
embrace all this stuff.
Yeah, I think it romanticizes things that people have, lost sight of, these trades that really are, like we touched on, these individuals evolve into artisans over time. And it's just, what a unique world. So thanks for taking the time today and illuminating this incredible journey that you've been on, Troy, with your incredible team at Hollywood Hot Rods. And we just, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. Hopefully we didn't make you too late.
No,
to wrap
we're still, they're, like I said, they're still working.
And it's almost 7 o'clock, people. So Troy's
we work till 8.
If you're wondering.
Yeah.
But anyway, is there a way, what's the best way for people to, the listeners, to reach out to you and the rest of the good folks at Hollywood Hot Rods? They want to learn more about, what you're building, or, how to contact you.
Good old Instagram, Hollywood Hot Rods. Easy thing is website. That's HollywoodHotRods.com. I think I'm on Facebook as Hollywood Hot Rods and Troy Ladd. So that's probably, or you can just, can't really come by yet. We're still working out. We're still in crazy. We're still playing Corona Land, but pretty soon.
Right.
Yeah, we've always had open door
Sure.
policy, visitors, things like that is pretty typical. So
don't be surprised if Jay and I make it up there if I decide to schedule a vacation day.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to make it up there. Well, hey, thanks again, Troy, for joining us here today on the SoCal Car Scene Podcast. We were definitely stoked to have you.
Stoked to be here.
And charged up and all those other adjectives. Yeah. To find this and other episodes, please go to all your favorite podcast platforms like Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, Google Play, anywhere else that you get your audio podcasts. And also for you viewers out there, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button to help support us here at the SoCal Car Scene and to never miss a video of our content. And if you also go to our YouTube page, make sure you spell out the SoCal Car Scene, which is SoCal are two different words, so don't make SoCal one word. We apologize for the confusion. But you can also see a video series that we're starting to do. It's called the Car of the Week, where me behind the camera and my dad, he gives us a tour of the car. So we're going to make some videos touring some really nice cars for you. So look out for that every week. I think that's going to come out every Tuesday, right, Dad?
That's right. That's our plan.
Okay, coming out every Tuesday. So just be on the lookout for those. Once again, thanks a lot, Troy, for being here. And thank you so much for your continued support of this podcast. We really appreciate it. We reached over 1,000 unique listeners the other day. So we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the support that you've shown us since October. And yeah, we thank you. So have a great week and happy driving.
Happy driving. Troy, that's a wrap.
Cool.
My friend.